I believe you can see this, right?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you all for being here. Welcome to my first 201 exhibition. My name is David Goldbloom, and let's get started. So, obviously, it's been a difficult year for everybody, but I'm proud to say that TCS has really powered through the year and gotten a lot of really cool stuff done. And in this presentation, just as a disclaimer, I did not take the advice of my fellow students, and I decided to make it as cringy as possible. So the theme, of course, Minecraft, is the entire theme of the entire presentation. And throughout the presentation, I'll be talking about the different SWILLOs, so the school-wide learning outcomes that were assessed on, which are basically just the standards we're graded on in projects. And without further ado, I guess I can just jump right in. Um, so I've seen a lot of change in myself throughout the year. I've become more confident and comfortable, particularly in talking to people online and adapting to the online um, conditions. Obviously, most people have not really done something like this in a school setting before. And so I'm really excited to talk to you about what I accomplished this year. Okay, so the first swallow I'm going to talk about is written communication. It's obviously one of the most important swillows in the modern age now that we're all on social media, we're emailing each other on a daily basis, etc., etc. It's probably the strongest swillow for me, but that has some downfalls and that presents some challenges for me. I'm quite convinced that my writing is quite flawless, and that's not a good thing. So I have a habit of not accepting feedback. And as my first piece of evidence, um, so at the beginning of the year, we started a project where we started writing our own autobiographies of our lives. And on the first chapter that we wrote, I received feedback from a facilitator and also my fellow students. And I was quite convinced that I did a really good job on the paper, and I am. You should always be proud of your work. However, there was some stuff that I could have added and that I could have changed to make it even stronger and more, you know, clear and concise. And I didn't do that. I got a 3 out of 4 on the paper, which is meeting standards. It's really good, but I could have gone above and beyond and gotten a better grade and done way better and improved my writing. And I really was mad at myself for not taking that feedback. And, I had to reflect on it because I knew I could do better and I can still grow as a writer. So for the next 2 chapters, I received feedback from both my peers and my facilitators, and I made changes based on that feedback to my papers. And believe it or not, I got 100% on both of those papers. So the lesson here is, um, going forward, I want to really keep accepting the feedback, the constructive criticism that I'm getting from my facilitators and my peers. That's going to be something that's going to be important in my future occupations in college. And I also just need to start asking for help as well. That's something that I really hate doing. I'm a very independent person, but it's something I really, really want to work on. The next swillow I'm going to talk about is agency, which is a very important one. Agency is sort of the assessment of your growth mindset and how you're growing as a learner. Um, I was pretty good with this when we were in person, but it's really hard to have a growth mindset and wanting to go above and beyond when you're online. A lot of students just really struggle with motivation, and I'm one of those students. Um, and particularly in groups when I had to pick up the slack for my teammates and such, I had a really hard time doing so. Particularly in the project of Mind Your Research. I had a project where I was the facilitator for two 101s, and admittedly, they were gone for a good reason. They had appointments and scheduling conflicts. But that left me to do almost all of the work for the benchmark one product. Um, and that was really hard to do. I did not really want to persevere and keep going in the project because I was just frustrated that I had to do it all by myself. Um, but I found, and this is something that's been tested by many people throughout the years, if you find personal relevance and find how this will apply to you in the future, and if you find the different passions you can explore in the projects, you can really connect with them and you can really do a really good job and want to go above and beyond it. You can get motivation from that. And so I had to really understand how this will apply to me in the future. And I also had to connect my different passions to this project as well to produce a high quality benchmark one product. And my facilitator was quite proud of me. Mary Lee thought had one of the best minds for figuring out if the resource was credible or not for our borderline personality disorder paper. And yeah, I did really good. And um, yeah, just finding personal relevance was super key in that particular project. And that's something that I had never really thought about before. And so, in the next project that we did, Paint by Numbers, um, it was kind of a project where we had to talk about abstract art and see how math incorporated into different art pieces. And for the final product, we had to use some graphing software called Desmos, which, if you don't know, yeah, that's just graphing software. So you can plot lines and plot points on graphs. And you were supposed to create a piece of abstract art using a lot of different equations, and I did not understand the math whatsoever. It was just something I'd never done before. And if you know me, you know I don't like geometry or anything to do with graphs. I'm just not a fan. I've never really understood it. And so I had to really push myself to go above and beyond and try and go outside of school hours to work on this because I was going to get a bad grade if I didn't try. Um, and so I had to connect with this and find how this will apply to me going forward. And I figured out that if I'm going to go into the field of computer science, something like this is very important. You're going to be working with all sorts of software to plot different points on like a computer screen and create all sorts of different graphics and such. So with that in mind, I had to spend hours after school to figure out the math, and I actually did a really good job. I got a pretty good grade. Obviously, grades aren't everything at TCS, but it was still something I really was proud of that I got done. And just as a goal going forward, I want to keep trying to connect with my projects so I can be passionate and being willing to go above and beyond to get a better understanding of what I'm learning. Okay, the next Swillow I'm going to talk about is collaboration, which is one of the best Swillows that TCS has to offer. Obviously, it's a real world skill that we're going to be using a lot the next couple years and in my future occupations. Um, and as a 201 coming into this year, it was super hard for me to step up after have after having been in groups with 201s last year that that guided me through the process. I was now pushed into that position for 101s, incoming 101s, which was really hard because I didn't really understand the concept of what being a facilitator in a group was all about. And I kind of took it as being the leader and making sure everybody got their work done, which in a sense that's true, but it's also just guiding people through the process, not telling them what to do, not yelling at them. And that's a common theme that I really had to work on. And keeping my temper was very hard, particularly with difficult people. And I was called out on that in my collaboration reflection for that project, H2 No, where we learned about our Spokane River and how to take care of it. We were supposed to produce a video on how to best take care of our river and the different history behind it. And I was kind of rude to one of the teammates, and they called me out on it, and they were right to do so. I was not the best of teammates in that project. Um, And afterwards, I really had to reflect on what went wrong. And I had to talk to different facilitators about it and figure out what I was going to do going forward. And I figured out that I wasn't being inclusive in my work. I wasn't really including them in the process of getting the project done. I didn't include them in the discussions for how we're going to get it done. So, with that in mind, in one of our more recent projects, Promote the Goat, our team, we faced some challenges, that's for sure. But I really had to push myself so I could organize my team, talk with them, and include them in the process for creating our final product, which was an email to our neighborhood council regarding fire mitigation in their neighborhood parks. Um, and I showed patience and leadership. And overall, I think I have a hard time understanding what people are going through and stepping into other people's shoes. So doing that and that project really helped me. And it helped me figure out going forward how I'm going to keep doing that and why it's important. So going forward, yeah, I just want to be a better facilitator. I want to work with my peers and be inclusive with them. Oral communication is the next Swillow. It's by far my least favorite Swillow. Um, I'm a very super anxious and nervous person. If you don't know me, I'm a very introverted person as well. So exhibitions like this, they're hard for me, and it's really hard for me to do, basically. And but that doesn't stop me from saying it's probably the Swillow that I've grown the most in my years at TCS. Coming in here, I was not a good public speaker. I was not good at communicating my thoughts and ideas orally at all. And um, last year, I really did struggle with it, and I had to get better. But I found that, as I said with agency, connecting with the topics that I'm trying to communicate about and figuring out how they apply to me, it has been so important. And it's so important that other people understand that as well. You're going to be more successful if you're passionate about the things that you're talking about. It's going to just come natural to you. Um, One example of this that I'm going to show you is a presentation I did. I'm not going to show you the presentation, but I did a presentation for the Mind Your Research project that we did. Was that in the fall? I don't remember. But anyway, I did my presentation on children's online safety, which is something I'm very passionate about. And it's something that I work with on a daily basis in my online moderation activities. Um, and I went above and beyond for this project. And it's something, as I keep saying, I'm going to keep repeating myself. I was super passionate about it and I cared a lot about it. So I could talk forever about it. The minimum time that we had to talk about the different things to keep the minimum time that we had for the presentation that we had to do was 3 minutes. And my presentation was like 8 or 9 minutes or something like that. It was it was pretty crazy. It was I went super try hard for that. Um, and I think that I'm pretty successful with the things that I'm passionate about, at, at least communicating them orally, because I speak from the heart. And that's something that Ashley and Cindy have told me over the years as well. And that's why I'm kind of one of the go to guys for Ashley and Cindy in terms of TCS promotion, info nights to recruiting incoming 101s. And it's something I want to keep doing. I want to keep working on going out of my comfort zone and to orally communicate my thoughts and ideas. And being passionate about those things, such as my school or children's online safety, it really helps with that. And it's going to keep helping me do that in the coming years. Last but not least, we have the Swillow of knowledge and thinking. And I'm not really sure why, but I've never been that enthusiastic about this Swillow, mostly because it reminds me of traditional school and the different memorization tactics that I had to use. But this year has really taught me that that's not what knowledge and thinking is about. It's about getting a better understanding of the topics and the different real world problems that we're trying to solve here at TCS. Um, and having agency and connecting with the different problems that we're going to be working on, it's so important. It's helped me go above and beyond every single time so I can get a better understanding of what I'm talking about and what I'm learning about and the problems I'm trying to solve. For example, in the Mind Your Research presentation that I went super try hard on, um, I had a chat with Brady Nielsen, who is a community expert in information security at SFCC, um, on the different dangers that children could face online. And as someone who considers himself to be really good at understanding internet terms and the different laws of the internet, basically, I have to say that I was definitely enlightened when I talked to this guy. I got a better understanding of the different terms that I was working with, the different laws that I was working with. And he was overall a really nice person to talk to because he had a lot of experience and he passed that knowledge and wisdom on to me so I can apply it to the problem I was trying to solve. And um, yeah, I was super passionate about it and using my prior knowledge and that kind of thing has been super helpful for me as well, particularly in the swillow. I've never been one to really take facts I'd learned from years ago and apply them to real world situations, and that's because I just simply did not really want to do that. But I think it's super crucial that I do that in the coming years because if I don't use what I already know and what I can know to try and solve a problem, like why would you try and solve the problem if you don't do that? Okay, learning through interest. So, for this project that we did in advisory, we were given the task of doing an interest project where we learned about something we cared about and wanted to just simply learn about. And we were supposed to produce a final product of some kind. And so I decided, this is for you, Grandpa. Um, I decided that I was going to try and create a website from scratch and self host it using a web server, right? That's a really great idea for a beginning web developer. No, it's a really terrible idea. Every tutorial that you go to figure out how to do something like this, it'll always start with this is for advanced and expert people in web development only. You should not be doing this if you're a beginner or an intermediate. And I decided to ignore that and I decided to move forward with it. But I guess the only evidence that I have for this to show is that I have no evidence. I didn't move forward with it and I didn't do a good job. And I had to really reflect on this in one of our reflections for this project. I figured out that, a lot of the goals that I'd set and a lot of the driving and guiding questions that I'd set, they were just pretty flawed and they weren't really going to help me get through the project. The guiding questions, they didn't help you think critically so you can produce a final product. They were just a simple Q&A. It wouldn't help me going forward with the project. um, and I figured out that my project planning is not up to date. It's not good. I need to work on it. And I think those are three very important things that I specifically need to take steps to work on in the coming years. Setting real goals and figuring out which driving questions are important and figuring out how best to solve and plan a project. Oh yeah, this is just me working with the command prompt on a computer. I thought I was really cool, so I decided I wanted to show this. So, okay, conclusion. So, the entire presentation I just gave you kind of detailed what I did this year. And obviously, going forward, I can see a bright future for myself, but I also need to grow in a lot of ways. And I have a lot of goals that I need to set and work on, such as getting feedback and working with people in an inclusive environment, asking questions, um, critically thinking about the projects that I'm working on and getting a better understanding of what I'm doing. And I need to get better at reflecting as well. That is super, super important for everybody to learn from their mistakes. And I believe all of this will help me become a more successful learner in the future. Thank you and have a good night.
Great, thank you, David. So we will take questions from the panel now. You can just unmute yourself and ask your question. I think Dylan had his hand up first, so you go ahead, Dylan.
I know I'm not part of the panel, and this is not really as much as a question as it is like just, feedback for your next exhibition. I mean, if you wanted to go for cringe, you should have gone for Fortnite. Me and Sean have been telling you, Fortnite is the way to go if you want to do something cringe. Minecraft is just kind of awesome. So, like, if you want to do something actually cringy, like Fortnite. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind. Thank you.
Selena, go ahead.
My question is also related kind of to that. What made you choose Minecraft?
So I've gotten super into Minecraft over the different quarantine. And I was actually in a Minecraft wellness as well. So I just thought it was kind of funny because people kept making fun of me for playing Minecraft and that kind of thing. Just to make them mad, I just decided to make the entire presentation Minecraft themed.
Matthew will be happy.
I think that was a good choice. All your images made me laugh.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Okay, other questions from the panel?
How Frank, dude? Oh, okay, it's working. How do you motivate yourself and like keep yourself motivated like during this time?
It's really hard to be motivated, as I kept saying. It was really hard for me, and it's really hard for a lot of people. And so one of the very important things that I did, and I keep stressing the point important, it's very important that you find personal relevance in the things that you're doing and finding how it'll help you going forward and see how you can really enjoy what you're doing as well. That's how I did it in most of my projects. I didn't want to learn the math and paint by numbers, but I found that it'll help me going forward, like in computer science and that kind of thing. So just those two very um, different things helped me keep motivated.
Okay, we'll open up to anyone who wants to ask a question. I think Matt has a question.
Hey, David.
Hello.
Great job, by the way. Loved it. Super proud of you, all the work that you've done, all the ways you've grown. Like it's been really fun to watch this compared to your past exhibitions. I think you get better every time, for sure. One question for you. You were talking about like knowledge and thinking, and I heard you talk a lot about like how knowledge is, you found the importance of, acquiring knowledge to apply. Did you, and maybe I missed it, but like, is there any growth that you saw in terms of your thinking, like how you were able to synthesize or analyze gathered knowledge and apply it somehow?
Yes, for sure. And I think a lot of that growth came from a lot of the political movements that happened this year and a lot of the news that we had to work on and look through. The Mind Your Research project definitely helped with that. Thinking critically about the different resources that are out there that could contain false or fake information. So yeah, to answer your question, I've definitely seen growth in my ability to gather knowledge and analyze that to see how I can apply it to real world problems. That's not really something that a lot of people in traditional high schools can do. And it's something that I definitely learned how to do through the different political movements this year and the different projects that we did this year.
Selena, did you have your hand up again? Go ahead.
I did. My hand doesn't like to lower itself. Okay. I was wondering what you think your biggest success and your biggest challenge was this last semester.
A good question. My biggest success. I definitely grew as a collaborator and as a facilitator for my groups. And I had never been really accustomed to being a leader. I was more of a follower, I guess. And so that was definitely one of the bigger successes I had. My biggest challenge, definitely motivation, for sure. It was so hard to have motivation.
Okay, we've got time for one more question, and then okay. So again, if you're on the panel, hopefully you got the link there. And then if everybody could do me the favor of unmuting your mics, and we'll give a big round of applause to David. Awesome job, David. That's everybody's good. Thanks, Sean. That extra sound effect there. So at this time, thank you, panel members. I will let you go. The next exhibition is 11:15 today, and I'll invite family and David to stay on with us. I guess, yeah. I know, Josh, you think you should be able to stay, but I'm going to have to ask you.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
All right. Okay, how do you feel?
Really
do I count as a family member, by the way?
Yes, you
Yes,
do.
yes, you do.
Yeah.
I see Judy jumped off, so
Oh yeah.
I should probably apologize to you for dragging you down the path of web development.
We appreciate
it. Listen, lessons in humility are good lessons.
Yeah,
well, I mean, I do have to say I was most impressed with the self-reflective nature of this whole thing. I was very impressed with that.
Thank you.
That's something that's difficult to do and difficult to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
for sure.
Yeah, and David didn't even really touch on some of his other things that he does for us. So I don't even know if you guys. So we have we've had to learn new ways to communicate with our students because they're not here. We can't have announcements and that kind of thing. And so we had to go to doing that digitally. And so he actually has taken on the role of he creates the. I send him the information. He creates the posting, and then it goes up live. So he's the part of the communication team here at TCS, and wears lots of hats for us, and we're continually pushing him out. We said, you want to do this? He's like, not really, but I will. so we keep pushing on that. so that's been awesome. So so questions from anyone? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is we take all these, you heard him say all these funny names of these projects, right? And because it's fun to put a funny name to the learning. And then we take all the products that they turned in, we call them benchmarks, and the requirements, and then we have to divide that up into what the world sees as regular classes. Okay, so I take all that information and then put it into a sheet that'll actually go into his official transcript. And so this is what I'll be turning in. Let's see if I thought I had the tab up. Hold on just a sec here. And here. So this is what I'll be turning in to the office next week. That will go on his transcript. I can find it. I think this is you. Yep. Okay. So hopefully you can see that. So David, or credit.
Oh, wait.
Is it coming? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, there it is.
So in English, 10A, Biology A, Algebra 1A, AVID is our advisory class, so exploring career and college readiness. I also gave David another credit. He is part of our leadership team, so he did get a credit in leadership in business. And then the web design class. So I combined, there was a web design class in Minecraft and the things that you did online all combined. And David are top grades in all of those. So that is the great report I will be turning in. Is that okay with you, David?
Looks good to me.
I thought so. Thought it would. And so here's the thing with David. He's so good at challenging himself. Such a valuable partner in all the in our advisory and our classes. Thank you for bringing him to us and letting us share him with you. So truly honored to be watching him learn and grow. Next steps are, how do I keep him challenged and not overwhelmed is the big question. And so as I look to next quarter, as far as wellness is, David, I just want you to, you still need to grab a couple fitness credits, so let's focus on doing that. You also, state rules, you have to have health, and we'll be doing that through advisory. So health and fitness is the focus next quarter. And then in February and March, we're going to need to think about what happens in the junior year. There's really 3 big options: stay at TCS, continue to be a leader, can maybe lead to wellness, do those kinds of, grow yourself that way. You're also eligible and fully capable of taking some college classes. Stay in projects in the morning, so because you love learning in that way. But then maybe in the afternoon we go to Spokane Falls and we take a computing class or something else you're interested in. And it could be anything. Maybe you take psychology, maybe you take a language. It's just really kind of getting used to take the structure and the pace of the college learning. Your other option is going to a skill center kind of situation. There is graphic design and there's other kinds of things there that you might be interested in. So start thinking about those. And we've already talked about that a little bit. But you do have lots of options for learning outside the building, and also lots of options for learning inside the building. So having those conversations, do some website searches, have those conversations with your parents. The other thing to think about is you got interrupted, but when you came here as a freshman, you did talk about doing high school sports, and that was quite interrupted. So that's another option. Do you go finally to play baseball at LC? Is that a goal for junior year? And I love the idea of college classes and all that, but also you have 4 years in your life to go to high school, and you have your whole life to go to college. So I don't want you to regret, oh gosh, I was gonna play baseball in high school and I never did. So that would be the kind of thing where you'd come to school and your last wellness of the day, you would leave, and that would be your transportation time. So so a couple of things to think about. So okay. But yeah, I don't know if that passion is gone. I know the passion for baseball is still there. Is it that you want to play, or you're just a fan? So which one is it? So okay. So lots to think about. So so any questions from